Today, I'm putting Claude Cowork to work on a genuine project management scenario. And when it gets things wrong, and it does, we are going to talk about exactly why and what that means for every project professional using AI right now. 45 minutes, real data, well, dummy data, no edits, let's go. Welcome to Powering Projects from Vision to Victory, where we explore the strategies, stories, and insights that make projects thrive. I'm your host, DK, and today we are diving into the topic of AI in real project delivery. But before we kick off, if you want to join a community that puts your career first, gain global connections, cutting-edge skills, and hear from voices just like yours who are shaping the project management industry, subscribe to the podcast now on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. If you caught episode 7 of this series, you watched me set up Claude Cowork from scratch. The projects, the skills files, and global instructions, all in the behind-the-scenes architecture that lets AI actually do useful project work. Today is what comes next. We skip the setup, we go straight to the work. The scenario is a project called Alliora, which is project ID P0501. It is an AI-powered project management tool that I'm building inside a fictional company called Achieve Proprietary Limited. The company has 4,037 employees, a global footprint, and an ASX listing. The project has a budget of $1.87 million, and it is sitting at the ideation stage, waiting on a business case for approval. Everything you are about to see uses dummy data, an actual organisation data file with 4,000 staff records, a real portfolio register with 301 projects, and documents I prepared before this recording that is sitting in my project folder right now. What I did not script is what Claude does with that data. That is the live part. And that includes the moment where it gets things wrong, because that is where the real learning lies. All right, so we're going to start with a kickoff prompt, which you can see on my screen. And we'll read out the key points so that you totally understand where we're coming from. So the prompt reads like this. Hi Claude, today we are going to perform stakeholder management work for a new project. I've given you access to the folder. Here is the full context that you'll need. Project P0501, Alliora Build and Deployment, an AI-powered project management tool for Achieve Proprietary Limited. The budget is 1.87 mil. Right now it's in ideation or pipeline stage. It has the approval to go to business case and the strategic pillars, the digital innovation and operational discipline. The target start date was October 2025, which has now been revised, and the target end date is November 2026, which possibly also will be revised. Please confirm that you have the context and tell me what you need from me first. So let's see what it does. All right, so what it's asking me to do, which stakeholder management artifacts do you want me to produce in this session? And I'm going to say that I probably want it to do a stakeholder register, and I will need it to do an engagement plan and a communications plan, and probably a stakeholder impact assessment. But what I also want you to do, I want to provide you with a list of the employees in the organisation. I'm typing. And I want you to help me locate, confirm, and understand a little bit more about my governance team. I know a team was recommended in the project charter, but is that the best governance team for this project? So let's start with an assessment. I will upload the employee data. All right. So I've given it some additional instructions. Do you have an existing stakeholder list, org chart, or prior engagement? Yes, I will share them. It is an Excel document. What standard baseline should I anchor against is probably PMBOK. Interesting. Interesting. I'm probably going to go somewhere between 1 and 3. Options 1 and 3. I do want to use the company standard process, which I can provide. And we do use PMBOK, but I believe this project would be best run as agile. What do you think? All right, so let's add these files. Okay, last time we met, I talked you through the Achieve employees data. Now, what you can see here is an employee ID, their name, their level, role title, department, parent department, their office, their state or province, and country that they're working in. I've also included some skills about every single person and their certifications, which is really important, as well as their years of experience in the field, their years of experience in the role, the project names that they're working on, and the success rates of any past projects that have been completed. We have their bench statistics, their days on the bench, as well as their manager's employee number and their manager's name and the manager's level. So really important data for us to. Now we will go back to my Claude Cowork screen. And what I was going to do was I was going to attach the employees data. So I'm going into my portfolio management. I'm going into my capability. I'm attaching version 5 of the Achieve Proprietary Limited employees data. What I'm also going to attach is my portfolio register, just so that it can see a little bit more data about what is going on with this project. Once again, this is all dummy data. So I've attached both of those. So one of the things I might show you whilst we're doing this is that prior to this, I actually produced a project brief. So the project brief basically takes you through the build and development. What you can see here is that it is a PMO internal improvement project. It is aligned to 2 strategic pillars being digital innovation, operational discipline. The sponsor was nominated as Drew. The project manager was nominated as Hayden. It is 1.87 million, as we've discussed. It is meant to start on the 23rd of October 2025, but we're a little bit late considering it's May 2026. And it's been in ideation pipeline stage and approval to go to business case. So it is a high priority. It is a medium risk rating at this point in time, and there's 88% confidence in delivery. So the purpose is really for Achieve, which is an ASX-listed pretend company, which does technical consulting and managed services with a global workforce of 4,000 professionals. As part of the 2025 to 2028 corporate strategy, we're committed to lifting its project delivery success rate to 90%. Woohoo! By 2027, which is a strategic objective that has been set by the board, and the build and development of Alliora project exists to make the target achievable. So Alliora is an AI-powered project management tool designed to embed intelligent real-time support into every project stage of project delivery from initiation through to closure, and it will reduce manual effort, surface early warning signals, and give project sponsors and PMs the intelligence they need to intervene before small issues become critical failures. And this is not a reporting tool. This is a project delivery ally designed to augment human judgment, not replace it. Talked about the strategic objectives. The objective of this is a functional AI-powered project management tool deployed across Achieve's PMO and top 20 strategic projects. So that's really important. This is just about the top 20 in the first rollout. The reduction in average project reporting cycle time by at least 40% is what we're looking for. Early warning indicators, monitoring operational issues across all in-flight high priority projects, stakeholder sentiment tracking integrated with meeting minutes, voice notes, governance artifacts, measurable lift in delivery confidence scores across the portfolio within 12 months of deployment, and full data governance and privacy compliance framework signed off by legal. And it's even nominated the person who is responsible for that, being Jamie Roberts. So in scope is the design and build, the stakeholder management module, the risk management module, benefits management, integration with Superbase and voice processing. So that's the architectural elements. Then there's a PMO pilot deployment across 5 high priority projects in flight. Now, this is interesting because this is a fault. Up here, I think we were planning to roll out to the top 20 strategic projects. But here it's saying that the pilot deployment is going to be 5. So that's something I can query. And then training and change management program for the delivery leads and sponsors. Out of scope is external commercialization, full portfolio integration, and replacement of existing project management tooling. Because remembering this is running alongside our present tooling, it is replacing what we have. All right, so going back to Claude Cowork, so it says, excellent, the working folder already has the project charter and the first set of minutes from an introductory meeting, which is correct. Let me load the tools that I need. So I have everything I need. Let me build the governance team assessment. The key findings I'm going to surface, data integrity issues. So the portfolio register in the charter, both name Oscar Martinez as the director of finance as the sponsor. But the employee data shows that Oscar Martinez is a staff level data analyst in CTO. The actual CFO is Laura Hayes. So that's fantastic. It picked up on a fault with previous sponsor. So conflicting sponsor, the SCI minutes on the 4th of May show that Drew Coleman, the CTO, was chairing the SRO, contradicting the charter and the naming mismatch. So the brief list comes as the CAIO, but the employee data now shows Nancy Jones, which is really good because I just amended that just before this session. So really good to see it's picked it up. And then the dual conflict. So Hayden Clark is listed as both the project manager and the program manager in the brief. And the charter board composition differs to the SCI actual, as well as the open conflict of interest with Quinn Sharma, who is on the steering committee, but also an end user. So Claude is going to rewrite the assessment file directly to the existing governance body and structure folder. So that's fantastic. The workbook's been saved. So let me recalculate the formulas and run a verification scan. 0 formula errors. So the workbook is now in place, and here's the deliverable. Review your governance team assessment. So the verdict is amber. The reconstitution required before the business case gate. Nothing fatal, but the charter cannot go to the 30 June gate review as it stands because of the data integrity people issues. So the workbook walks the project board through the 9 tabs, which is the executive summary, the current versus reality, with a RAG rating for every named role, the role baseline, the gap analysis, the recommended team, which is really good. My suggested next steps are the charter version 1.1 to correct the SRO and the project board composition. And I can draft the red line. Stakeholder register as the next workbook using the corrected governance team as the spine, and the sequence in the engagement plan, the impact assessment, the communications plan in the same workbook, and then the change and adoption lead appointment. So tell me which one you want to move to first. All right, so the governance team assessment. So it's given me the project ID. It's given me prepared by, which is me. Recommended sponsor is Drew Coleman. Fantastic. An ideation phase, which is great. So there is an entire workbook here, which is amazing. So it's telling me what the present makeup is, the current versus the reality. So it's saying the sponsor inconsistency and the data integrity, the naming and role mismatch, the dual conflict, the board composition, and the unresolved conflicts of interest that are open. Beautiful. And then it's given me some recommended actions. So what I might do is I might just respond to this question and then split the project manager and program management roles and retain Daniela Kellett as the project manager. Woohoo! And retain Hayden as the program manager, reconstitute the board, given AI ethics and data sovereignty and ASX obligations, and then closing out the actions. in the roadmap and standing the working group and the product team using the named PMO and CTO operational members plus the change adoption. So it's even given me a candidate shortlist, which is named alternatives from the employee record. These named candidates have been screened against the employee register. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to Claude and we're going to say, present each decision that needs to be made one by one, and let me advise you accordingly. And what I might do whilst it's working on it is I might actually save a copy of this. Yes, I'm going to save it exactly there. Governance structure, save. Woohoo! All right, so it's getting to know my folder structures, which is fantastic. All right, so let me work through them in priority order. I have 17 decisions in total that flow out of the assessment, and we will hit the critical ones first, the ones you must close before SC2 on the 1st of June, then move into the operational appointments, and I'll present each one with a recommendation, a couple of viable alternatives, and the rationale you advise based on your conversation with Drew. So number one, how would you like to confirm the SRO and correct the record? So this is really good. This is the foundation stone. Unless the SRO is named without ambiguity, every other governance decision is built on the project charter names Oscar Martinez. The portfolio register repeats that, but the SCI minutes show Drew Coleman chairing as the SRO, and the employee record proves Oscar Martinez is a staff level data analyst, not the director of finance. So we need a clean, single named person. All right, decision 2 of 17, resolve the CAIO seat identity and confirm whether the AI governance sits on the board. So the project brief and the SCI minutes both seat Pamela as the Chief AI Information Officer. The version 5 employee record shows Nancy Jones as the incumbent. This is not a small thing. AI ethics alignment is one of the most exposed areas for an ASX-listed AI build, and we need at the right level of seniority on the board. So we are going to verify with PNC seat Nancy Jones. Decision 3 of 17. So we're going to split the dual project manager into a project manager and program manager role because the brief in the portfolio register showed Hayden Clark in both seats. So DK as PM and Hayden as program manager. We're going to execute that decision. Decision 4, the COO seat on the project board. So operations is where adoption risk lands. So the PMs across Achieve sit under the operational delivery lines, and the success of Alliora depends on those teams using it. Without the COO sponsoring adoption at the board level, the principal medium risk in the charter is effectively unsponsored. So that is a really good one. So we're going to move Sean into that role. So we're going to decision 5, security and AI risk seat on the board. So there's no formal CISO on the Achieve employee record. The closest equivalent is Hannah Johnson, the GM of security operations in the operations parent department. So given that Alliora handled project personnel data, integrates these with 3 external suppliers being Anthropic, Superbase, and N, and triggers ASX cyber resilience expectations, a senior security and risk seat on the project board is not negotiable. So we are definitely moving Hannah into that role. All right. Decision 6, handle Quinn Sharma's conflict of interest. So Quinn Sharma sits on the project board and is the primary end user of Alliora. SCI 1 flagged this informally. The call is not a reason to remove Quinn. She brings essential PMO authority and user voice, but it must be managed transparently to satisfy P3M3 level 3 governance evidence. So that's a really good one. So we want to declare and abstain on project decisions or declare and continue with no restrictions. So the thing here is, can she sit in both roles without a conflict of interest? And what they're saying here is just abstain on certain decisions. So I think we'll go with that one. So as to manage the conflict of interest. Decision 7, change and adoption lead. So this is the single most important operational appointment we will make. The charter rates low adoption as the principal medium risk, and there is currently no named change lead. Achieve has 2 GM level L&D options and a CPO above. Capable change capability also exists at the team lead level if we want to keep this lighter weight. Whenever we choose, the person owns the change and communications plan that mitigates risk 01 from the charter. So that's fantastic. So what we want to do is go with the GM of L&D. Got a lot of heavy hitters on this project steering committee, don't we? And then decision 8, the product roadmap ownership, which was a steering committee action number 3, which was urgent. So this is the most politically sensitive open item from steering committee 1. Camilla, now confirmed as Nancy Jones, claimed the steering committee 1 meeting that the Alliora product roadmap should sit with the AI and information officer rather than the project team on the grounds of alignment with Achieve's broader AI governance framework. Drew, the SRO, accepted he would determine this, and the project brief version 1 establishes product ownership with the project team. So the charter is silent. Decision rights need fixing in the charter. So I actually do think that the roadmap should not sit with the project team. The business owns the product, and quite rightly, they should own the roadmap. So we're going to say that the CIO owns the roadmap with the project team, or we're going to transfer the ownership of the roadmap. So I think we should transfer it. I don't think we should be checking our own homework. I don't think that a project should be leading the business. So let's sit that with them. Decision 8's recorded, so the product ownership transfers to the CIO office. A flag before we move on, DK, this is a substantive structural change, not just a governance tweak. 3 implications I want to surface. The project brief will need a version 2, not just a red line. The roadmap transfer is a formal scope change against the existing brief, and it materially changes and alters decision rights. So I will draft this as a change request alongside Charter version 1.1, so the audit trail is clean. The 30 June business case date may need a short rescoping window. The business case has assumed project team roadmap ownership, and Drew should be briefed that a 1 to 2 week extension may be needed, or alternatively, we lock the change before 30 June with Nancy Jones formally accepting roadmap accountability in writing, and the risk register changes shape. So the project brief currently rates scope expansion seeking product ownership as high likelihood, high impact. That risk closes, but a new one opens, and the project team now delivers a roadmap it does not own, which raises a delivery velocity risk and a decision latency risk. And I'll swap these out on the risk register. I'll reflect all of this in version 1.1 and the governance assessment workbook when we have finished the decision. So continuing on, decision 9, project controls lead. So the steering committee already assigned Michael Lopez to establish the EVM framework by the 22nd of May. The decision here is whether to formally confirm him as project controls lead for the duration. So yes, let's confirm him. Next decision, Archie Jones is the natural fit for the team lead delivery assurance. The only nuance is the reporting line, because Archie reports administratively to Quinn Sharma, who sits on the project board. So for independence of assurance to be defensible at P3M3 level 3, the functional reporting line for assurance findings should bypass Quinn. I think that's a really good point. How about we do Samantha Stewart as an alternative? because we don't want Archie to be put in a conflict of interest. So let's go with an alternative altogether. Okay, Camille Ford is the strongest internal candidate for the TDA chair and already engaged via the steering committee. So what we want to do is confirm the Australian data residency in the technical decision document. The TDA will own the NFRs, integration standards, the AI ML architecture decisions, and the supplier integration design. So that is good. Decision 12, decision transferred roadmap ownership to the CIO office. That changes the product owner role meaning. The original recommendation was Camille Rodriguez, the team lead for product engineering, who reports to Camille Ford. She is well qualified, but the question is now, who is she accountable to and how product decisions flow? So, do we want her to have the product owner reporting into the CIO's office? Let's go back to this. Decision 8, transfer roadmap ownership to the CIO. That changes the product owner role meaningfully. The original recommendation was Camille Rodriguez, who reports to Camille Ford. She's well qualified, but the question is now, who is she accountable to and how product decisions flow? So they're recommending that she has dual reporting lines. Just do that. That was a hard decision to make. Decision 13 of 17, under the hybrid delivery approach, the build cycles need a dedicated scrum master to facilitate ceremonies, remove blockers, and coach the team in agile practices. Independence from the product owner is important. 3 candidates from the PM pool with relevant experience, all reporting through PM leads. So let's go with Charlotte, because that was who was recommended. And then decision 14, Jamie Roberts is already engaged through the steering committee 1. He's the owner of steering committee 1 action 2 about the DPI framework template, which is due by the 8th of May and confirmed at steering committee. The question is whether the team lead's seniority is enough given the AI ethics, the vendor contracting, and the ASX disclosure statements, or whether the role needs escalation up the legal chain. So that's really interesting. I believe in pushing decisions down into the organisation. So what we'll do is we'll maintain Jamie Roberts and we'll allow him to escalate as necessary or to seek advice and counsel. Decision 15, it's more of a P3M3 critical role. Someone needs to maintain the decisions register, actions log, steering papers, and minute. The SCI minutes were taken up by me, DK, and this is unsustainable over a 13-month build. So the PMO has 21 analyst staff, 2 strong candidates surfaced from the shortlist. All right. Decision 16, the project brief targets pilot deployment across 5 high-priority in-flight projects, later extended to the top 20, which is what I mentioned earlier, and I hadn't even noticed it, and now Claude has. The charter targets adoption rates of 85% of active projects 9 months post go live. The pilot cohort is the evidence base for that adoption metric. Achieve has many seasoned PMs across the PMO need to fix a starting cohort size and selection approach. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to up us from the 9 to 10 PMs across all of the PMO team leads. And I'm going to say here, then there's obviously the option here of a volunteer cohort with adoption incentives. Can I select 1 and 3? We can ask for volunteers, but also have a mandatory exclusion for. So that allows us to get more, but we have some. And that'll be good for our communications and engagement plan as well. Let's see what it does with that. And then decision 17, you are external to achieve. The charter has PM tolerances applying generically. They need to be specifically endorsed for an external PM so that Drew Procurement, Legal and Audit can all defend an arrangement at P3M3 level 3. This is the last decision before I update the workbook and draft version 1.1. So let's do version 1 tolerances retained plus external PM clauses. So it's giving me a list of the decisions that have been made and the outcome that we've decided. And then 3 time critical steering committee 1 actions that are now overdue or due today, the 11th of May. So action 1 is due today, action 2 and action 6 appears to be overtaken with decision 8. So what I propose is update the governance assessment workbook with a ratified team on tab 6 and add a new decisions log tab capturing all of the 17 decisions and the rationale. They're going to draft version 1.1 of the governance section and redline ready for Drew's review and draft the formal change request for the roadmap transfer to the CAIO's office, including the risk register swap and the brief on the business case impact. So shall I proceed with those in sequence, or would you like to confirm anything else? I'd say no. Go ahead. So what you can see here and what I love about this is that I didn't ask Claude to find these risks. I asked it to confirm who it felt was best placed for the project. But what it's done in scrutinizing the data that I've provided is it's found a whole heap of fault, risk, conflicts of interest that I wasn't even aware of. And that's the difference between having a document repository and having a thinking partner. So this has been a really fantastic exercise and I've really enjoyed going through this with Claude. And I feel a little bit more ease now knowing that I probably wouldn't have picked up on a couple of these things. And I'm so glad that Claude has. So next what we were going to do is we were going to have the organizational data ready to upload, which we've already done. And we've obviously watched Claude analyze all of that. Now, what I want to do next, once Claude has finished creating all of these documents, is I actually want to ask Claude who would be my ideal project team based upon success rates and using that same employee data that I've given. So I haven't filtered this. There's no pre-selection from me. I just want to see what it does. So let's give it a go. So Claude, when you're finished with the documents, I would like you to review the employee data and portfolio register and give me the top 10 projects you believe we need to include in the user cohort, which will end up on the stakeholder register. And B, can you give me an educated guess from the best technical staff for the project team? I'm going to clean my spelling mistakes because I have a real problem with giving Claude spelling errors. It's a me thing. All right, so it's running that command. It's updating my workbooks with the ratified stakeholder team. Okay. So we're back. And it looks like here it has rebuilt the workbook, the original workbook. So let's have a look at the team assessment. Okay, so it's gone back through this. It's given us a executive summary, which basically shows that all of the action items that we had or our top 5 finding are now closed and that we have resolved them. The current versus the reality of the current governance team, the governance structure, baseline, the gap analysis with everything that's green now because it's been validated, so on and so forth. And now it has also given us a revised project charter, which is now version 1.1. So the summary of changes from version 1 is that we have replaced our sponsor. We've got some additional key stakeholders on the project board. We've swapped out, or we've clarified our project manager versus our program manager. The project organisation has some new roles, the authority for the external PM clauses, the product roadmap and the roadmap risk have all been addressed. So this is fantastic because it now allows me to clearly see who is in the roles, who the named employee and stakeholder is, and their accountabilities, replacing the table in the original project charter file, which is great. Okay. And now let's just have a look at this last one, which is the change request. So it's given us a bit of a background. At the steering committee on the 1st of May, the chief AI and information officer, now confirmed as Nancy Jones, raised a request that the Alliora product roadmap should sit within the AI and information team. And on the 11th of May, the project manager and SRO walked through the 17 governance decisions arising from the governance team assessment. And we've transferred the product roadmap ownership from the project team to the CAIO's office, which is great. We've done a bit of an impact assessment, the roles, the risk impact, the implementation plan has been revised. We've got here an approvals table, and there's several people that need to sign off on this. So that is fantastic as an outcome. 3 things on your immediate radar. On the 30th of June, the business case gate is a binary choice on the CR. Section 5.2 of the change request gives Drew an explicit decision, which is to lock the change before the gate or take 1 to 2 weeks extension. And that conversation should happen this week. So that's fantastic. Now it wants to say, well, when you are ready, tell me whether to start the stakeholder register or whether you want me to draft the 3 CSI follow-up notes first. And let's keep this project powering forward. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is put in the additional question that we covered earlier, which was, Claude, when you're finished with the documents, I'd like you to review the employee data and the portfolio register and give me the top 10 projects you believe we need to include in the user cohort, which will end up on the stakeholder register. And can you give me an educated guess on the best technical staff for the project? So I'm going to run this request. Now, whilst it does that, I'm going to reiterate again, warning, warning, warning. This is a test of Claude Cowork. I am using dummy data, a dummy organization, and a dummy project. These things are not real. They have been created for testing purposes. So once again, I am not making any recommendations that anybody should enter their employee list into Claude Cowork. Please do not take this as being advice about what you want to do. I am merely trying to test how the system actually works and see what it does well and what it doesn't do well. So please do remember, Powering Projects is not advocating for you to upload all of your employee data into Claude Cowork. That is definitely not the intention here. I would be seeking advice and counsel from your own leadership team before doing anything of that nature. Let's just see what progress it's making. Having a look at the pilot project cohort and the technical team analysis. All right, so both analysis done, and here's a brief. So the top 10 in-flight projects for the pilot user cohort, they've selected from the 100 in-flight projects on theme, diversity, priority, EWI value, so absolute schedule and budget variance, and cross-pollination with Hayden Clark's program. So each one will surface different Alliora capabilities, so planning, early warning indicators, sentiment, and governance under real conditions. So it's made a recommendation about 10 projects, which is great. And it's given me the sponsor and the program manager for all of those, so I can go and have a conversation with them. Now, 8 distinct program themes, 7 distinct sponsors, 7 distinct program managers, and 4 high risk plus 6 medium risk, all with material variances that early warning indicator monitoring can demonstrably address. Data integrity flag, the portfolio register has no PM assigned values for any of the in-flight projects. So we're going to pull names from the PMO when adding to the stakeholder register. So the best technical staff for the project team. So this is sourced from the CTO's office and operations. The recommendation focuses on team leads as squad anchors with 1 or 2 staff specialists per stream. And the brief stated skills gap is prompt engineering and machine learning is confirmed, and the external vendor engagement remains necessary for genuine LLM and RAG. Okay, so it's giving me a whole heap of people that it believes should be involved, notes about who they are. So this is great. There's a back-end Python person named Daniel Wood who owns Superbase Integration API layer. There's a front-end person called Priya who owns Replit hosted Pilot UI. There's a data engineering person, Samantha. There's Kendall. There's Christopher. There's Quinn Hayes, and there's an external engagement. Okay, so what we want to see here, add the 10 projects and their named sponsors and program managers to the stakeholder register as a discrete pilot user cohort. Add the technical leads as the build team segment with reporting lines to Camille Ford and Camille Rodriguez. And I will sequence the stakeholder register engagement plan, impact assessment, and communications plan into one cross-referenced workbook when you give the word. So what I want to ask before I move on to that point is, are there any skills missing from the technical staff list? And what additional skills do I need for the best performing project team? All right. So yes, there are real gaps. Current list covers core software engineering and security, but it does not cover the full project charter scope. Here's what's missing and some critical gaps. So deep prompt engineer, a machine learning engineer, an ML ops and model operations, data scientist, analytic engineer, a business analyst, a solution architect, UX, UI trainer. Important additions for your top performing team. So site reliability engineer, a mobile voice processing specialist, a technical writer, a privacy engineer, a vendor supplier risk lead, and a performance engineer and information architect or taxonomy. Vendor management skills, configuration, benefits realization, and headline recommendations. Add Emily Clark, Ravi, Henry, and Oscar as named internal additions. Add the external squad for prompt engineering. So this is great. I'll fold this into this stakeholder register when you give me the word. So can I create a project team profile and add resource demand profiles for the resources we don't have? I want to be able to reach out to the market and preferred suppliers, the field, and also reach out to the business leads to engage the staff members we have flagged as good internal candidates. Okay, so let's see what it does. Right. So the workbook being built and verified. So there's a team profile, a resource demand, and it's been saved in files, which is amazing. Okay, it's a team profile. There's an internal resource request. There's an external resource demand profiles. There's a sourcing strategy. There's a RACI, single accountable row per row for resource sourcing and onboarding activities. A few notes before you send anything. The day rates on tab 4 are indicative of market ranges only and explicitly need procurement validation. I've called this out in the disclaimer row. The operations engineering bench is your biggest dependency. Jacob Patterson's release decision will determine whether the build squad lands in time. Worth briefing him personally with tabs 3 filtered onto his org before the formal memo goes out. If you would like the 8 external demand profiles also split into individual work documents, 1 per role, I can split them out. Otherwise, the stakeholder register remains the next natural workbook. with the team profile set into it. So let's keep powering through. So let's have a look at this document. All right, so it's got my project details on there. It's got my index of what's in this document. It's given me a project team profile, so all of the people that I need that are on my governance team and my build team, which is fantastic, and some external roles that I need, and they need to go to the preferred supplier panel, which is fantastic. I've got some internal resource requests. These are all the people that I need to request internally. Start dates and end dates, which is great, and what exactly they need to do. So there's an engagement note. There is the prompt engineer. So this is the demand profiles for the external staff, mandatory skills, the deliverables, the desirable skills, the duration, the FTE equivalent, the indicative day rate, which is less. There is the contact type, which is good. And then there's a sourcing strategy. So endorsing the team profile, issue internal resource memos, procurement engagement, receive internal release confirmation, receive supplier proposals, interview and selection, contract and execution, mobilization internally, mobilization of the external pod and the resource plan baselined and signed by the SRO. So this is great because it's also given me a little bit of a timeline I can use to build out my project plan. So that is fantastic. That is really good. And I suppose the last part of this is, okay, now we are ready to build the stakeholder register engagement plan and impact assessment and the communications plan into one cross-reference workbook when you give the work. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bum steer. What was that impact assessment we needed to do, which is very vague? Let's see how it deals with a vague question. Let's see if it's actually saved any of this into my resources folder. Yes. This is the same document. So it has saved it in my resources folder in the project structure. So it's reading the structure of my file and it's putting the files in, which is fantastic. So impressed. All right. How would you like to handle the privacy and AI impact assessment alongside the stakeholder workbook? So stakeholder workbook only, DPI chased separately, which is recommended. We'll do them all separately. So the data privacy impact assessment is a formal compliance artifact under the Privacy Act of 1988 and the Australian Privacy Principles. It assesses risk to personal information and is signed off by legal. And you may also be thinking of the AI impact assessment. This is increasingly expected alongside the DPIA for AI products and would naturally sit under Nancy Jones. It's not strictly mandatory yet in Australia, but it's best practice and it will likely satisfy the next wave of AI governance audit expectations. So before I press go, one quick question: how would you like to handle it? And I've said let's do them all as separate documents. So right, it's doing the full sweep, setting up the tasks from the start. So the stakeholder workbook is done. The data privacy impact assessment is done, and now it's working on the AI impact assessment. All right, so all three deliverables are built, validated, and saved. So we have the stakeholder management workbook, we have a DPIA framework, and we have an AI impact assessment. The workbook carries 84 stakeholders. Each stakeholder has a unique stakeholder ID that threads through every tab: the register, the engagement plan, the impact assessment, and the comms plan. And the 22-row comms plan maps each channel to a specific stakeholder ID so you can see at a glance who hears what, when, and how. The early warning indicators tab is designed to feed back into Alliora itself once it is built, and the summary at the bottom of the register tab shows current versus target champion count so you can track movement quarter by quarter. The DPIA framework is a pre-populated end-to-end with the project's context, the project description, the APP compliance mapping, the 8 AI-specific privacy risks, including the still open APP 8 cross-border question that depends on Camille Ford's overdue DECO action item number 1, a 12 control mitigation catalogue, the DPIA cadence, the stakeholder consultation plan, and a 40 escalation sign-off chain through from Jamie to Casey to Isabella to Drew, and it's ready for Jamie to refine. And then the AI impact assessment, which is a companion document for Nancy Jones. It covers the 11 AI-specific risks, bias, hallucinations, surveillance perceptions, foundation model concentration risks, energy impact, and others. And the ISO 42001 control mapping, stakeholder impact, and the 5 signatory approval block. So this positions Alliora as achieves first formal application of the AI management system standard, which is exactly the kind of governance posture that justifies the CAIO's owned roadmap decision. So 3 things worth noting. The DPIA's biggest risk is APP5, which is cross-border disclosure, and it hinges entirely on Camille Ford's confirmation of the Australian data residency for Anthropic API. And the SCI action is overdue from today. Chasing her gets you out of red and into green. The stakeholder register has 23 high-influence stakeholders. That is a lot to engage. Personally, the comms plan deliberately groups them into steering, TDA, triad, and executive briefing channels, so you don't have to have 23 separate one-on-one cadences to maintain. And the stakeholder impact assessment services the high severity stakeholder groups, which is the PMO, legal, HR, and internal community. And those 4 are the engagement spine. They're ahead of everything else. So tell me what you want to do next, and I can draft 3 overdue SCI follow-up action notes for Camille and Drew and Jamie and open the next workbook. So I think what we'll do is we'll leave it here, because when we come back next time, we will try and do some work on the business case and seeing how we can actually start bringing that together. So the lesson here has been giving Claude really good context has made a massive difference, because AI is fragile. Specificity is what good project communication looks like anyway, and AI is just holding you to that standard, which is the standard you should be holding yourself to. 3 things that I want you to take away from what you've just watched. Number 1, AI is only as good as the data that you feed it. So Claude picked up on all sorts of errors at the portfolio register level, as well as in the project charter, things that didn't match, people that weren't suitable, conflicts that had arisen. And it did all of that by just me giving it context, which was meeting invites, our portfolio register, our employee list, and what they're actually good at, and the project charter. Claude picked up on the wrong sponsor because I gave it the portfolio register with a name that didn't match the org data. That's not an AI problem. That is a data governance problem, and most organizations have it. AI will find the gaps very easily and loudly. Number 2, specificity is not optional. Vague prompts produce vague result or confident wrong result. The discipline of being specific with AI is the same discipline that makes you a better project communicator. These skills compound. So really important that you are as specific as possible. And number 3, the wins are real and so are the fails. AI was able to give me quite a few wins today, but it was only able to do that on the basis that I was giving it really, really good context, political context, escalation context, risk context, all those kinds of things. And by doing that, it produced a really valuable output. So if today's episode gave you something to think about or something that you'd like to try, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment on YouTube, find me on LinkedIn, or come and join the conversation. Every question, every pushback, I've tried this and it didn't work, that is material for my next episode. So please do subscribe to Powering Projects on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you want deeper context, the frameworks, the templates, the behind the scenes, come and find us. More than happy to share all of my war stories with you. Until next time, keep powering your projects from vision to victory. And remember, the best project ally you have is the one that tells you the truth, even when the truth is that your data has a gap. So it's DK signing in. Bye. The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute professional, legal, or financial advice. The opinions expressed by the host, guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organisations or sponsors. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information on project management methodologies and related topics, no guarantee is made regarding the completeness, accuracy, or applicability of the content to your specific circumstances. Listeners are encouraged to consult with qualified professionals before making decision based on the information shared in this podcast. The hosts, guests, and producers are not liable for any losses, damages, or outcomes resulting from the use of this podcast's content. By listening to this podcast, you agree to assume all risks associated with the application of the information provided. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll find value in our discussions.